So I'll give you guys a quick heads up that last month was the single best month we have ever had for new registrations, new backers, total backer dollars, new web views, players coming to the game, uniques daily, uniques monthly, across the board. It was just the most excitement and activity we have seen since we did the Kickstarter. So that's incredibly awesome. I'm proud of the team for everything they've done to get us here, but I'm also super, super happy that you guys have been willing to stick with us and come back and check us out and being patient for us as we try this grand experiment that is, let's create an MMO unlike anything that's ever come before. So it's great seeing that experiment start to pay off a little bit. So thank you guys for that.
And I think it's great to see all the new people coming in, and I want to shout out to all of the people who have stuck with us this entire time.
Yeah,
because a lot of them are being great mentors to the new people coming in, and I see lots of guides going up because it's an MMO, so it's deep, right? There's layer upon layer upon.
And it's not until just now that we even have any kind of a tutorial in, right? Like this version has the first 2 chapters of the new player experience. So before this, there was literally no way to know the game. Now there's some, but there's still a whole lot of complexity there that is not exposed. So so thank you definitely to the kind of loyal following who has done such a good job of reaching out and getting other people engaged.
We've just started bringing it up for the 6-100 milestone is what are we calling that?
Yeah, it's the Guild Alliance's milestone is really what it is. I mean, it also has mounts, which is funny because normally an update, that would be like a major update in and of itself. It's only not as impactful because it's in the shadow of Guild Alliances, which is really, really big. There's some quality of life stuff in here too, right?
Yeah, there's some quality of life stuff, but more importantly, we keep pushing on optimization, and there are a couple
absolutely.
Right? We just got to keep pushing that optimization line of code. And every update, we're going to have something new. So for us, it's been 6 weeks since we actually started. So we've forgotten some of the early optimization stuff that will now make it to you on test. It'll just make the gameplay experience better in large conflicts that we've been seeing, which is
the other
also
thing I think is. Sure, and the other thing that's worth pointing out on this one is how quickly this update, right? This is a pretty significant update. Guild Alliances is a big deal. Mounts is a big deal. Performance is a big deal. Yep. We upped the server cap to 175 people per zone now, so we're seeing fights where they're topping out at 175. So these are pretty significant updates. And beta just started last month. So our cadence of updates has also increased and gotten better, which I'm really proud of. I think that's really cool. We are very clearly now winnowing down on that list of things that we need for launch, which is really cool. Not to say that we won't add stuff forever. It's an MMO. We will add stuff forever. But the list of things that we originally set out to do is very, very quickly dwindling, and that's really cool. So...
Right.
All right. So which one do we want to talk about first? That's a whole bunch of stuff. Do you want to talk about alliances a little bit?
Well, actually, in our schedule that Debbie Sue has provided for us.
Yeah, I don't have it up.
Okay. The next thing we were supposed to talk about is the collector's edition preview.
Oh, let's do that. That's really cool. Okay. So this is one of those things that we laid the groundwork for like way, way back in Kickstarter. We said, okay, we're going to do a collector's edition. It's actually starting to make its way through production now, and we're starting to see pieces. Can y'all see Debbie Sue? I don't know if she's up on the screen or not, but maybe yes, maybe no. Well, this is the prototype box for the collector's edition, and the collector's edition has a whole bunch of really cool stuff inside of it. The one that I think is actually turned out, those are 2 pieces that I think turned out incredibly cool. One is the miniatures, right? We have a lineup of, D&D style, Warhammer style miniatures for all of our different races and classes. And in fact, I think we have a few of those that we can bring up and show as well. But the quality level on those turned out really, really cool, like better than I expected. We effectively were able to take our actual 3D high-res versions of our 3D models from the game and 3D print them, pose them and 3D print them. And I think those are going to come out really, really nice. They're going to be some great looking little miniatures. The other is the art book, which I'm sure that everyone out there desperately needs to have on their coffee table. A book going over and showing off all the beautiful Crowfall art that we've created over the course of the last 5 years. But this thing covers everything from early concepting that we use for marketing purposes to the Pantheon of the Gods to the races, the classes, equipment, animations. Like, it goes pretty exhaustively through everything. It's a really cool book.
Yeah,
It turned out really, really nice.
our art has always been fantastic, and it's nice to see it all in one place. The miniatures look great, and you can get it only if you've been a real good boy this year.
God. Oh, Blair and his
Working on my Santa Claus.
Santa Claus, just the worst. So, okay, and the comic, which is really cool. You guys saw a preview of the comic actually when we put it out a couple of years ago, actually. But the comic is up and is ready now. Almost all the pieces are there. In fact, Debbie Sue, what's left that hasn't been done of all the stuff?
So the couple of things that are coming, I'm excited about, are the official soundtrack for Crowfall, which I think is very cool, and also our behind the scenes that shows the making of Crowfall, which may be more than we really want to share, but we'll see how the editing comes out on that. And then we have, of course, 3 months of VIP that are part of the digital rewards that come with this pack, 2 friend codes, and we also have a very cool looking USB flash drive, which you'll use to download your digital version of the game. And it looks a lot like our gorgeous box.
Yeah, I like the black on black. I think that turned out really cool. It's very, very distinctive, really cool look. So yeah, this is neat. It's just, I specifically mentioned earlier to Debbie Sue, like, hey, you got the pieces. Let's show off the pieces, because I wanted people to see that it's actually becoming real. I mean, that's the thing is, it's one thing to see a nice render, which we do have one, and there's a nice render that we'll put up on the website, because I think we're going to start selling these again. Like, for a long time, we actually didn't sell them as we were trying to figure out, like, all right, we actually have to pull this together. How much is this thing going to cost? How much is it going to cost to ship it and manufacture it? So let's just hold off on selling them again. But now that we're at the tail end and, launches in sight, it's like, all right, we need to get all this stuff done. So it was about time, we thought, to get back in front of you guys and start showing it off. So I think it's going to be really cool. In fact, this is actually, you guys, this won't be the same for you, but for me, this is the first time I've actually ever had a collector's edition of any of my games, now that I think of it.
Wow.
I've never had one before. So, and of course, the best part of the art book is the foreword written by me, right, Debbie Sue? Isn't that right? Okay, maybe not. It's a foreword. Nobody reads the foreword. So anyway, so if you guys are interested in having a little bit more physical Crowfall in your life, the collector's edition is something you should definitely take a look at. I know that Zyback is going to put a copy of the book on his coffee table, because everybody who comes to his place right now, I'm sure they don't hear nearly enough about Crowfall. And this will give him a way to bridge the conversation wherever it's going back to Crowfall, which is really what he wants. So anyway.
I think it's also cool because, again, it feels just so much more real, right? We deal with bugs and all of these other problems on a day-to-day, and you just,
for sure,
when you see the actual, the physical goods, you're like, oh, wow, yeah, there's other things going on other than this power is overpowered or this thing isn't drawing right. I mean, you're like, wow, this is a real thing.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Feels like it's coming together.
I'm going to now have to make homebrew versions of Ganetian and Elkin to put into 5th edition D&D, just so that I can use those miniatures, actually, because they already have minotaurs and centaurs and things like that, but the Ganetians and Elkin, that's something that's kind of far beyond. So anyway, thank you for showing that to us, Debbie Sue. I think that's really, really cool. I'm super excited about that. I'm going to have I do have boxes or cards or something from every game, but that's the first time I'll have a collector's edition to add to my shelf.
I like the idea that just got posted that said we should have a Zyback unboxing video.
That would be cool.
I think that's going on the list.
Yep, I think that's a good idea. So cool. All right. So what was next on anything else on the collectors? Oh, well, what else? So Debbie Sue, real quick, just because, so there were other things that came in there as well, right? Like there's some friend codes and stuff like that. Did we cover all of those?
We did. So 3 months of VIP subscription. Okay. 2 friend codes.
And what's a friend code?
A friend code is the opportunity to get your friend into the game at no charge, and it's for a full week playing with you.
Okay, cool. So it's basically an invite. but it's a full access invite.
That's right.
So, all right,
After
that's
the
cool.
game has already shipped.
Yeah,
So
cool.
there won't be a beta or any other way to do that.
Yeah, cool. All right. And anything else, or does that cover it? Am I forgetting
No,
anything?
I think that covers it.
That covers it.
All right, that's really cool. So next up, Blair, what's on our agenda?
We're going to look at a video clip of the crypt. So we've got some new zones coming.
This is cool. Yeah, this is cool. This is just eye candy. So, I mean, we thought this was an area was worth going back to because it's the first area that you see when you come into the game, which is it's the crypt. So, one of the things I'm working on in the background that you guys won't see till the end is the entire kind of initial flow into the game. And we've got a lot of this comments back in beta, which is, hey, I only kind of know what I'm doing in this world. Like, I kind of have an idea of the story, but not completely. And there's a good reason for that. It's because the intro sequence is not in yet. Like, the major pieces that we have that tell the story will be coming between now and launch. So, but you'll be coming into the game. You'll be treated with some story. You'll be taken through character creation. We need to add more details to character creation because right now it's like, hey, here's a class. I can't tell what it does for me. These are little things that we got to get fixed, and then it'll segue into that first area, which will be the tomb. So that's really cool. It's also kind of neat looking at the difference between the concept and the actual how it turned out to see how close it is. It really, I think, captures the mood and the feeling pretty effectively, which is really cool. So there you go, a little bit of eye candy.
Yeah, and it's seeing the crypt. I think what's funny is the first time I saw it was on a whiteboard. You had written down the word "starting crypt," and it was like well over a year ago.
Yeah, for sure.
And so again, when you see something finally transition from the whiteboard to game, it's like, oh yeah, okay, that's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. So I mentioned earlier the new player experience and how we only have the first 2 chapters in, and originally I expected we'd have 3 chapters, but now, almost 3 plus 1 because the Eternal Kingdoms has its own little library. It looks like there's actually going to end up being 4 plus that Eternal Kingdoms just because there's so many systems related to the strategy game, right? There's just so much there. So for this next version that's coming out, while we don't have a full chapter, we did use this crypt as another library. So we put a series of books in there that you come in, and instead of the Ganetian lamplighter there's a different lamplighter who basically says, hey, I know that, basically he says, I know there's no chapter 3 yet. Go read these books behind me, and at least you'll get some idea of how outposts and forts and keeps and all that stuff works. So while it's not ideal, it is at least one step better. So every build you see coming out now, we're going to try and push it one step better to explaining what the hell this game is and how it works. The cool thing about innovating and making something very, very different is that you end up with something very, very unique. The hard part about it, the challenging part about it is it breaks all the assumptions of people coming into the game because they expect something to work one way and it doesn't. So that's all instruction and teaching, and it's a challenge for us. And unfortunately, it's also one of the things that you get to last in the project, just like optimization. So, but anyway, there you go. There's the tomb.
Next up, we've got more eye candy, which happens to be the other big tentpole of this milestone, which is we actually put mounts underneath the player.
Oh yeah, that's really cool. So for a long time we had the Holy Grail version of mounts, right, where I just kind of clap the coconuts together. I got the speed buff, but I didn't have any visuals. And this version now, for the first time, we have our first visuals coming online. We started with just the horses, so it's Quarter Horse, War Horse, Nightmare. The other ones will be coming as well, which, if you've looked in our game, you'll see a bunch of really cool creatures, things like hunger spiders and aurochs and all that kind of stuff. Eventually, all of those will likely make it their way to the mount system as well, just because mounts are cool.
Yeah, and Emily's going through the photos right now.
Cool.
But yeah, it definitely, for me, it was interesting because I was part of the implementation process of the mounts was when we actually got the mount underneath the player and your camera lifted up and just running around. It was the exact same movement speed as the coconut form, but it just felt different.
Yeah, it does. The world felt too big before, and that's because we engineered it with the expectation that mounts would come online, and now it feels about right,
Yeah. And there is one thing everyone should know is the mounts, you'll be able to import them once 6100 moves to live. you'll be able to import them into the campaign. Right now, we kind of have an in-between because we don't have the skin system online.
Right.
Eventually, you are going to get a mount object, and you'll unlock all the skins that your account is entitled to, and you'll be able to equip whichever skin you want to show in-game, but we don't have that system quite yet.
So right now it's really only half the mount system, right? It's the physical object that I can use to summon a mount.
Correct.
And the downside of only having the physical item is it means that it's subject to import and export rules, and it's subject to decay. So don't worry too much about that, because occasionally we do refreshes of all of your purchases, and so if you lose it for whatever reason, you'll get it back. We'll just wait till the next reset. Eventually, when the skin system comes online, it won't be possible to lose it, right? You'll just have the nightmare skin, and it doesn't matter what little hobby horse you find in the game or pony or whatever, you can change it to look like a nightmare, which would be pretty cool.
Yeah, so you're going to have an in-between now, but at least you'll have the art assets under you. We can start knocking out all the animation bugs and let the art side of the house actually see what they're making in game, so they can make adjustments, make more idols, maybe change the emissives on those guys. There's a lot of tuning that the art department can't do until they actually see the mount in game underneath the players, right? We had to come up with a scaling system so that the bigger characters like the Minotaur didn't look ridiculous on the quarter horse.
I got that response. When I first got a screenshot of it, I was excited enough. I posted to Twitter, and I got a couple of responses of that looks like a pony. And I was like, well, true. With the Minotaur, it does look like a pony. With the Ganetian, it looks like a Clydesdale. So there was a bit of a problem there. So we definitely, and I don't even know if that's in yet or not. They may still be uniform scale.
No, we got the scaling.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
So again, it's about completing it and polishing it and getting it in front of you guys, so you can also find all the crazy bugs that we didn't see when we were building it. But again, there's more to this. Ultimately, it will be a skin that you just override the current mount if you want to, based on an entitlement that's on your account. And
they do have jumping. That's one thing that I think surprised people, because the previous coconut version, we had turned off the jump just because it looked so ridiculous and it didn't quite work right with the player animations.
Right.
Now that we got the actual mounts in, we were able to turn jumping back on, which is cool. So.
And it was funny. The first time I had the mount under me, the very first thing I tried to do was just start mashing the space bar. And I was like, this doesn't work yet. So.
But it does now.
It does now, so you guys will never have to experience that pain again.
Yep. Okay, so we talked a little bit about alliances last time, but the alliances are in now, which is really cool. So the effect this is going to have is this is almost like grouping for guilds. That's the best way I was able to explain it internally, right? Is because if you think about grouping as building a party as a basic idea, you have a group leader. They can invite people, they can kick people, the group can disband. They are made dynamically and destroyed dynamically. They're also specific to a campaign, meaning if I go to another world, I'm not still part of the group that I was in back on this server. So effectively, this is the same thing, only at the guild level. So we've got an invitation mechanism where I can basically look at the guilds and send an invite, and it'll ping anybody who's online right now in this campaign who has the right to accept that invitation. If they accept, it shows up on the widget, on the alliances widget. Now anyone who is in that alliance, who's in that guild, is going to be taken into account in terms of friendly fire and in terms of using my building and my facilities. So there are still some things that the alliance does not have access to. For example, in this version, we have finally persistent chest, which is really cool. So in a stronghold now, we have a bunch of additional storage area for people to go and store crafted items or resources or guild-specific materials that they want to, things that they basically want to hold on to. Yeah.
There is a question on alliances. They're asking how many people can be in it, and we might want to mention how many guilds can be in it.
Yeah, so right now it's set to 5 guilds can be in an alliance, but there's not any limit on the number of people in an alliance. And the reason that I didn't want to put a limit on it, at least initially, is because we don't have a limit on the guild size. So, if the whole point of alliances is to, basically to allow political intrigue, right? It's to allow people to band together and then at the last minute screw each other over. That's why the system was made to be dynamic and allow you to instantly create them and instantly destroy destroy them. I didn't like the idea of putting in artificial limits at the alliance level if we weren't also going to put limits in at the guild level. So at some point we may change that. We may decide that we want to put in, I know for tournament campaigns, for example, we are going to put in guild limits. My guess is we'll also then set an equal alliance, an equal number in the alliance. So if I've got 100 people in a single guild, then my alliance can only have up to 100 people as well. It certainly isn't a hard thing for us to add. It's just something that we didn't do initially. I didn't think it was necessary for the first iteration. So I wanted to get it out, see how it felt first. But back to the things it doesn't do, alliance members do not have access to your guild chest. So if I have a stronghold and I'm storing a bunch of weapons for my individuals that are in my guild, alliance members can't come and just raid that. Now, if I lose the city, whoever takes it from me can raid it. So that adds a new dynamic to city sieging, which is I can store stuff there, but I need to be careful. I need to actually think about, and if at the last minute things look like they're going to be dicey, then I need to think about either getting rid of that stuff or moving it. So that's another nice quality of life thing. And I guess I should also mention that those chests, both the personal chest and the faction chest, those are available in Eternal Kingdoms as well. They can be crafted and added into your houses, which is going to go a long way to fixing the bank space problem that people have been complaining about for some time.
We might want to also mention that alliances, you can be in a different alliance in a different world.
Yeah, the alliances are based on the
I did. I said that, just like groups. Oh, respec, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so respec is on the list of things that I want to get. It's something we definitely need before launch. This segues a little bit, so I'll give you guys a bit of a preview of not this version. So we've got 6.100 is on test right now, right? Meaning when we get it polished and fixed, it's going to go out live. So we're talking a matter of days, not weeks, right, before that thing goes live. The next version, which is 6.200, has two big tent poles in it. One of those is a dedicated focus of as many engineers as we can put onto client performance, right? Especially specifically in large player engagements. That's one tent pole. The other one is something that you guys have been expecting and waiting on for a long time, which is a kind of rebalance of talent trees and disciplines. So the individual pieces that we have are not going to change significantly, right? We've got certain powers and we're going to keep most of the powers, but how you get them, who gets them, how the disciplines allow you to cross over and grab things from other classes, there is going to be a massive upheaval, a cataclysm in the meta that's coming in 6.200 that you guys, I think you may be underestimating how much impact that's going to have on gameplay. So I think that'll be very, very cool. When that comes online, though, it's going to make it even more apparent than ever before that respec is necessary, because I don't want people, even though we have the fastest leveling treadmill in the history of MMOs, the goal of our game is not to make you replay that, right? That really exists to help you try out and learn your build so that you can then go participate in the campaign worlds. So we're not a game for raids or grinding or anything like that. And respec is a part of that. So we'll talk more about it later. I have specific ideas of how we're going to do it. And how it ties into the overall system, but it is something that's on the list. I'll confirm that, and it is something that we need before launch.
Those of you that are already backers have gotten our September reward, which is very cool. The Malachi statue and the belt totem, which gives you a bonus stat. In October, we're amping the value just a little bit more. This time you're getting the Blade of Fire, which has a very cool fire effect on it. And you're getting the chest sigil that you can wear, which also has a bonus stat. And this is based on Arkin, who was the son of the god of fire and had his fire and the sun stolen from him. So if you would like to know more, visit our website and for sure take a look at the Pro rewards.
And again, this is not a please come and buy it, like pay extra money kind of thing. We have people who are still playing our game and have played it every week since Kickstarter, where they bought a backer package. This is a thank you. This is a thank you for the people that helped get us to where we are right now. And if you jump in, then great. You're gonna get them just like you'll get everyone that comes between now and launch. If you want to jump in, if you don't, you want to wait, that's totally cool too. We're trying really hard not to be an organization that centers ourselves around selling. We'd rather center our organization around make a good game, and hopefully at the end of the day it'll find an audience. And you guys being here is proof that at least fingers crossed, so far so good.
You'll start seeing, actually, if you go over to test, I put all of the mounts that are coming in 6/100 over there on a vendor. You can just grab one off the vendor and see if you like it. I'm sure someone will put up pictures of them all, including some of the Twitch ones and things like that will come out through other venues other than previous purchases and current purchases. And I think what's interesting is we have 4 variants or 5 variants of every mount, because we've been doing this since Kickstarter 2015, 2016, 2017. There's variants for all of those mounts. So you can go over there on test server and just pull it off the vendor and check it out and decide if you actually want any of those, because I'm pretty sure they will be available for some of our backers on the shop. We still have some of those that are up there, and I think if you bought
unless they were marked exclusive. If they were exclusive, then they weren't. But yeah, that's the way it goes.
Yeah, I think the Kickstarter backers had the option to buy all of the ones that came out afterwards, if I'm not mistaken.
I have no idea.
I'm sure it is. So.
I have no idea. So
they're all over there.
Well, as always, I want to thank everybody for coming out and listening to us and sending your questions and giving us your design feedback. You guys are the best. I say it all the time, but we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, and that's very, very true. So thank you for following us. Thanks for keeping up. Thanks for having faith in our project and our vision and our team. And I think that's probably it for this month.
Yeah, we'll see you next month.
All right.
Enjoy September.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you in game.